winning. But, if this turns into a big mess, Trump is positioning himself.
Tinfoil hat, Sacks. You have your tinfoil hat there? Put it on for a second. I want to talk to tinfoil Sacks, tinfoil hat Sacks. Let's put the tinfoil hats on here. Do you think Putin is escalating this as a way to position Trump to where Putin says, he could say this during the election, like, listen, I would love to talk to Trump. And what if Trump goes and talks to Putin or does a phone call with him? Because I know that's against the rules, right?
Theory. So your theory is that Putin is going to escalate this.
Tinfoil hat Sacks theory. Tinfoil.
Okay, so your theory is that Putin's escalating this into potentially a nuclear war to get Trump reelected? That's your theory? And I'm the tinfoil hat guy?
Trump is favorable to him. I'm just tinfoil hatting it.
The reason
now that this has occurred. No, now that this has occurred, not that he did the invasion because obviously he wants to unite.
My friend. You're the one in tinfoil hat territory.
Tinfoil hat corner at the end.
Putin, the reason why...
Not that he started the war for it, that he would end the war to give Trump a win.
How's he going to end the war for Trump? What are you talking about? During
the election, he does a call with Trump and he says, I talked to Trump about this and I'd love to do some negotiations with Trump. I've always had appreciation for his ability to help negotiate things. I would feel better about negotiating with Trump, who hasn't saber rattled and told everybody in the world that I have to be, that there isn't regime change. So,
I think it's really interesting how you come up with these conspiracy theories and then attribute them to me and call me the tinfoil hat guy. But
it's a joke. It's literally a joke.
I know,
but you just said this is his silver bullet.
No, it's a silver bullet.
You said it's a silver bullet.
The rails. Yeah, if this war goes off the rails and the economy goes off the rails because of this war, Trump right now is positioning himself to take advantage of that fact. And DeSantis is too.
Plays right into his hand as a pacifist.
DeSantis says some critical things about the war. Skeptical, I would say, things about the war this week. So it's not just Trump. But look, the thing you have to understand about this war is it's existential for Putin. It's existential at this point.
Yes.
He cannot back off.
And it's extracurricular for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why Obama said back in 2014 that the Russians have escalatory dominance. They will always climb the escalatory ladder all the way up to nukes if they have to. And the sooner we recognize that fact, the better off we're going to be.
I think the good news is that we
Trump speech that he did, where he kind of highlighted...
I didn't see the speech. Was it good?
Here, we just talked about it. It was 2 minutes. It was fabulous. Sacks just mentioned it.
The crazy thing is it sounded a lot like what we were talking on this podcast, which is he talked about all these generals that retire
Victoria Nuland.
He mentioned Victoria Nuland by name.
By name. He really did.
Wait, explain to the audience this, because I didn't see this, because I'm on a different time zone and it must have broken when I was asleep or skiing.
Well, it's a 2-minute video in which like I said, he attacked the military-industrial complex and the foreign policy establishment for creating this war. And he mentioned Victoria Nuland by name. Let me tell you something. Nuland is going to be...
It's going to be a very popular message when he put out there.
It is very popular. Nuland is the Fauci of this situation, okay? The same way that Fauci was supposed to be protecting us from viruses and then funded gain-of-function research. Victoria Nuland...
Now we got a label.
Let me tell you something.
We just got labeled COVID-19 misinformation.
Victoria Nuland was supposed to be our chief diplomat with respect to Russia and Eastern Europe. And what did she do instead? She ginned up this conflict. How?
Ginned up.
We backed an insurrection in Ukraine in 2014. Jason, if you didn't like the insurrection of January 6th, let me tell you, you aren't going to like the insurrection that she staged in Ukraine, because they brought in these Ukrainian far-right nationalists as the muscle. And that is what created all of these problems.
Did he bring Big Macs? Did he bring Big Macs with him? Did you say he brought Big Macs to East Palestine? He brought fast food to them? Yeah.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
He showed up with Big...
You're ignoring what Sacks said, but...
No, I got it. I am not disagreeing with him. I think
if you want to understand the roots of this conflict,
have never been popular. Nobody wants to be in a forever war. Yeah.
But let me explain why he mentioned Victoria Nuland. He mentioned her because she was the State Department official who was responsible for backing this insurrection of a democratically elected leader in Ukraine in 2014 named Yanukovych. Okay. Yanukovych was doing a balancing act between Ukrainian nationalists and Russia. And it was a very delicate balancing act. And we basically toppled him. And ever since then, the relations with the Russians over Ukraine have been headed south. If you're wondering why Putin seized Crimea, it was in direct retaliation for the coup that we backed in Ukraine in 2014. This is the origin of the conflict. And, if you want to understand where this comes from, you have to go back to this. And the fact that Trump's willing to talk about it is pretty incredible.
I think that The good news for us is I think that heading into June and the debt fiasco that's looming, I think we're going to, and I think this will help a lot, get distracted with domestic issues in the sense that it'll take some heat off of escalating all of this foreign adventurism. It's such a scene, like this is such a scene from Wag the Dog. Every time there's something inside the United States that we should really focus on, we have this Wag the Dog moment where we get distracted by some adventurism abroad and we forget and we lose sight. So we have this East Palestine thing right now. In June, we're going to have to come back to terms with this debt ceiling issue, which is a huge one. How we're going to resolve it, it's not clear. Just this week, the Federal Reserve basically said, hey, folks, we're taking rates to 5.5 plus, and they're going to stay there. That seems like no news. People just seem to digest it and move on. It's really incredible how we just find we are like, what is it, Jason? The dog that chased the bumper and caught the car or whatever?
Yeah, you caught the bumper.
We got plenty of big problems here in the United States, plenty of big problems. And I don't know that Wag the Dog works anymore because I think the American people want, like I said, they want an American president to focus first and foremost on American problems. And even remember, Bush Sr. in 91 won that war and still lost re-election.
Still lost.
So I don't think wagging the dog works anymore. It works for some short period of time, especially while the media are portraying this
and to your point,
theater,
by the way,
the air raid theater, but eventually the people smarten up.
You're so right. So that issue, think about Bush. Bush came off of the Persian Gulf War with like a 91 or 2% approval rating. I mean, we've never seen anything like it, but he violated a simple tenet of his domestic policy, which is read my lips, no new taxes. Boom, lost. And it was not even close in the end. So I think you're right. I think people really care about the economy. Go Nikki Haley.
And how much debt do we want to go into over foreign wars? The only thing I ever liked about Trump was his policy of not starting wars and not getting into them. And Americans want to focus on our
Jason,
balance sheet. I'm a balance sheet voter right now. I'm voting based on who is going to be fiscally responsible. Me and Friedberg are in the same boat here, I think.
We've got to be real careful in how we handle China because you had Blinken on all the Sunday shows basically denouncing them, expressing outrage that they might support the Russians, acting shocked that they could do that. We don't even have the ability anymore to understand that other countries do things in their own interest. And we can't accept that. And instead, we act as if foreign policy should be conducted according to this morality play that we've created. And if you don't do what we think is right, then we're going to express all this outrage and condemnation at you. And somehow that's going to get you to violate your own interests. That's not the way the world works. And what we're doing right now is pushing China and Russia together into a new Axis bloc. This is very foolish, very foolish. Even during the Cold War, okay, we worked to keep Russia and China apart. And whatever you think of those regimes today, they were much worse back then. Remember, the Soviets, you had a Stalinist regime. The Chinese had Mao. Those were two of the three biggest mass murderers of the 20th century. And Nixon and Kissinger still went to China and shook Mao's hand and toasted him because it was important to keep China and the Soviet Union divided. And what are we doing today? We are basically pushing them together with all of this condemnation and outrage. It is not a smart strategy.
Can't disagree. We need to be building bridges with India. That's a key relationship. And China. I don't know why we're not figuring out what we have in common.
India. This is poisoning our relationship with India. India is the biggest democracy in the world. And our relations with them have gone south since this war because they have a friendship with Russia that goes back a long way.
I would rather see Biden go to India and start building some bridges there. Yeah, I agree. I can't disagree.